Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is a world premiere.
Great morning, precious people. You know what time it is. That's right. It's time for your number one talk show, The Culture Call, with yours truly, Bishop L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3 and 790 WTSK. That's right. This is the place where Tuscaloosa meets the world. And, of course, for the next 2 hours from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., we're going to be talking a little bit about everything. That's right, from society to sports, education to economics, from religion to relationships. We are here, definitely, as always, to create a safe space to have empowering, provocative, and yes, sometimes controversial conversations. And guess what? We learned right here together and chatted up right here on The Culture Call. Listen, want to send number one shout out to all of our first-time listeners. Welcome to the CC family. We have a time every day. This is our space, our safe space to talk about the things that help our community, that build us up. And we are grateful that you have come across us on today. So listen, sit back. I'm telling you, it's going to be a provocative conversation, as it always is, every day that we are on the air. And so whether you're sitting at your desk traveling through the city, or you might be in another city and you're just listening through, this is going to be a wonderful, wonderful day to have you join us right here on The Culture Call. So definitely welcome. Number two, want to send my shout out to my faithful and committed listeners. Listen, we are because you have supported us for this past year. I'm telling you, you have done amazing listening to us every day and encouraging us and giving us ideas of how we can make the show even better. I'm telling you, giving us that kind of kick and say, hey, wait a minute, I didn't know all that was going on. Listen, every time you see me, you give me a hug and you're encouraging me. Listen, I really, really appreciate all of you who have been with me from the beginning, even until now. You are to be appreciated and definitely celebrated. And last, but certainly not least, to the inimitable, amazing Brother Jay, who leads us in from 5 a.m. all the way to 10. And I'm telling you, he passes me this hot revival baton and says, run on, son, see what the end's going to be. And so that's what we're doing. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to talk about a lot of things. Yes, but we are thankful for the energy and the innovation of Brother Jay at this station. Definitely want to give him a shout out. Listen, do me a favor. I need you to go to your smart device, your app store, whether it's an Apple or Android, and download this free $99 app called Praise 93.3 FM. There you're going to find that app, and you can place it on your phone. Doesn't cost you a thing, just a little bit of space. And there you can listen to us no matter where you are and what you're doing. You can slap your AirPods in or your headphones in, or if you don't need them, you can just listen to us straightway and verily, and hear our conversation and even be a part of it as well. So no matter if you're in Dallas, Texas, whether you're in Phoenix, Arizona, maybe you might be in New Orleans, Louisiana, or definitely right here in the beautiful city of Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Montgomery, Mobile, Huntsville, Bola G, Aliceville, Gordo, Reform. Doesn't matter where you are, you can hear us and be a part of the show. Definitely all around the world, definitely all around the country. Listen, also need you to email me your public service announcements and events to culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com. And let me know what's going on in your space and in your organization. I want to be your personal PR agent and let everybody know what's happening in your church, your sorority, your fraternity, whether you're an artist getting ready to start or have a concert or do a live recording, or whether you're a pastor getting ready to run a revival or start a new church. We want to let Lottie, Dottie, and everybody know what's going on so that we can put some faces in the places so you'll know that what you're doing in our community really matters. You know why? Because we do it better when we do it together. And as always, you can write down the golden number 205-752-4800. That's 205-752-4800. And you can call into the show and be a part of the conversation. I would definitely love to hear from you. Listen, do me a favor, sit back and relax, grab you some coffee. You know how we do it, from Maxwell House all the way to Starbucks. Yeah, maybe coffee is not your thing. Guess what? You can get you some herbal tea, chamomile if you're trying to calm down, and a little green tea if you're trying to get a little caffeine kick to make it all the way toward lunch. And if you don't like coffee or tea, definitely get you some water, some alkaline or some spring water, and detox that body. That's right. Wake those cells up and say, hey, we're getting ready to have a good day, and let's get into the culture. Listen, in this men's month, this men's health month, mental health, however you want to say, this month is dedicated to men, and we've been doing our duty best to bring to our community and to your hearing those things that are pertinent and important to the lives of men, and making sure that we educate ourselves, that we bring a level of elucidation, a level of understanding to those who just, sometimes are trivially moving by and not necessarily paying attention to what's happening in the lives of our brothers, our sons, our nephews, our fathers, our uncles, all of that. And so we want to definitely take this month to send a big shout out to all of the men who listen to us on the daily, those who are working hard for their families in their communities, and even those who may be on the outline, on the perimeter of effectiveness, effective manhood and effective malehood. We want to talk to you as well, too, just to know that, hey, if you're in a good spot, we celebrate you. Keep doing what you're doing. And if you need to come on in, hey, we want to hold the door wide open and give you the key to take yourself to the next level and the next dimension, because I think all of our brothers need that level of encouragement. That's right. It's the cornerstone of what being a man, malehood is about, which is respect and honor, that dignity that needs to be placed in his mind and on his heart, so that we can all see the productivity of our own community, of our own families in every area together, men, women, children, and so that we even in this country can begin to formulate, or better yet, reformulate a force to be reckoned with. That's what we're going to be talking about this entire month. This morning, I think that our topic is so very important, and that is, brother, get your health up. We're going to talk about men's health today. Yeah, there's a plethora of things that we need to discuss with regards to the health of men, and I think sometimes we don't really pay attention to a lot of little things that we consider to be minutia until they blow up, and now we're in positions of prevention, if it can't even be prevented, because we didn't do all that we needed to do in the season of correction. But definitely, we want to talk about and challenge every brother to get his health up, to pay attention to your physical health, pay attention to your mental health, and definitely pay attention to your spiritual health. Absolutely. That we being a tripart being have health in each and every area of those components. We have spiritual health that we must be concerned with. We have soul health that we must be concerned with, or mental health, as we would say in today's lexicon. And we have our physical health that we need to pay attention to as men, because again, because of who we are and what we have been divinely assigned to do, we cannot do that if we are in poor health, or that we are sickly, or we don't maximize the ability to do and to be who all God has designed us to be. So I definitely want to send that challenge out to all of the brothers today to, get your health up. Listen, when we look across the country, even now, not just from a historical context, but definitely now, there seems to be a tremendous, significant disparity in healthcare outcomes between men and women, and definitely when we deal with the social construct of race, that black men and black women are at the lowest part of the totem pole in terms of holistic health. And again, that is spirit, soul, and body. And when you begin to look at those disparities, there are a lot of root causes that come with the element of us not being proper caretakers or stewards, better yet, good word, of our health, because I think we believe that some things are just going to fall into place. But no, because of our history of, our diet, because of our decisions, and because of the wicked determination to continue to treat black and brown people as second-class citizens in this country, medical care and science has not always been kind to us. Even currently, it is not as kind to black and brown people as it should be to our white counterparts. And so that's very important for us to note. And then when you understand this whole idea of decision making, how we get ourselves into habits and addiction, poor eating habits, when we get into, drinking and smoking in different levels, when we get to, our diet and all those different kinds of things. Yeah. Our sexual habits. Yeah. That we don't have a level of discipline in those particular areas that will garner us toward making healthy choice decisions and so, part of being, I think, a man is that YOLO, YOLO, you only live once kind of ideal, because it is in the male masculine nature to risk it all or, to mask any kind of weakness or detriment. But sometimes it is that mask, it is that acting, it is that, that causes us to fall into particular areas whereby we find ourselves not in the healthiest spaces and places when we need to be for our families, and even for ourselves. Let's just start there for ourselves, that every man owes it to himself to take care of himself, not just externally, not just with a haircut, not just with good clothes, but we need to be concerned about our blood pressure. We need to be concerned about our cholesterol level. We need to be concerned about, our reproductive organs as well. Not being, just, breath and britches and going and sleeping around and sowing royal oats, but we need to consider the escalation of diseases that are happening in our community. We need to consider all of that. We need to consider emotional and mental health disparities. Are we really at peace as black men in this country? Is there a way that we have found peace? We are married, but is that a place of peace? We have homes, but are our homes a place of solace and tranquility where we can unwind from the world, right? There's a whole lot going on in that aspect, and somebody, and I definitely don't want to be lewd, but somebody put on social media the other day, all men want is the P, right? And one brother put in there that I thought was so very apropos, because I knew what they meant. But one brother put in there, you right, peace, P-E-A-C-E. That's all men really, really want. Because even if you deal with any other kind of expletives that go on with peace, if you don't have peace, brother, at the end of the day, and sister, if he's married to you and you're not providing a place of peace, it is a place of contention. The Bible says that it is better for a man to dwell on the rooftop than to be inside of the house with a contentious, cantankerous fighting woman. And so, all those biblical axioms, proverbs are true, right? Because at the beginning and the end of the day, a man's mind needs peace, because that is his well of thinking. It is his well of vision. It is his well of creativity. And if he does not have systems of peace that's going on in his life, he cannot optimally perform in those areas. And so I think it is very, very important for us to note and to understand that, yes, as it relates to mental health, a man needs to be able to be emotionally healthy. He needs that outlet, yes. And he definitely needs peaceful environments. And then, of course, when we talk about spiritual health, not just reading the Bible, but there's got to be a prayer life there. There's got to be a praise life there. There's got to be a worship life there. There's got to be a life that is able to display Christian virtue and Christian values, believing in God, or that is very important. there has to be a ground and a center there. And I think that when we begin to talk about holistically all three of those measures in men, we will find that a lot of things we come behind in. And today we're going to have that conversation about how can we holistically bring brothers up to the place to where their health is primary. Their health is something that is not placed or put off once they get in trouble. Once they start getting dizzy, having headaches, and now they're diagnosed with high blood pressure. And now it's very difficult. And understand that according to James Baldwin, that to be black in America is to always live up under some level of stress, violence, and anger. And so we come in. I always applaud people who are chocolate like me, who have regular blood pressures. I applaud them, because blood pressure is one of the things that we struggle with. One of the, that I've struggled with that since I started pastoring, right? When I started pastoring, I went to my doctor for a checkup, and the first thing he said to me, he said, listen, no, I got to treat you like you a 40-year-old man. Now, you have to understand, I started pastoring in my early 30s, in my mid-30s. I mean, my mid-20s. What am I saying? I'm in my mid-20s. And so, but my doctor at the time treated me because my blood pressure was escalating at the time. And so one of the great struggles for black men and for definitely, those of us who have to work and do have responsibility is learning how to control our blood pressure, learning how to push back from the table and adjust our diets and not eat all of the soul food. Now, I hear you. My granddaddy ate collard greens, fried chicken, macaroni and cheese, and cake and all that, and he lived to be 100. I get it. But when you consider that the food is different now than it was when Granddaddy was living. Granddaddy was growing his own food. Granddaddy was killing his chickens. Granddaddy was, had the vegetables and all of that, right? And so the food, by and large, was much healthier, right? Even though they were cooked with fatback and strychnine and all those different kinds of hog maws and all that, even though the food had that pigtails and all that, yeah, but the pigs, the hogs were raised on Granddaddy's farm. He was slaughtering the hogs himself, right? So the food in and of itself has a different grade than if we ate it now. You see what I'm saying? And so that's very important when we begin to understand food science, and then we understand this whole idea of proper food maintenance and GMOs, genetic modifications, and all of that's happening in the food. Then we were like, wait a minute, hold on, what's happening? Then we'll understand some of the health disparities that we're seeing because of additives in the food, food that we eat now off of the shelf instead of growing it ourselves because, again, of convenience. I get it. I'm not casting aspersions upon anybody. I shouldn't have to use that as a qualifier, but I have to because I don't want anybody to think that they're under attack anytime they listen to the show. No, absolutely not. I get it. But what I am saying is that we have to become aware that the quality of the food now is totally different than when our grandparents, great-grandparents was growing the food themselves. And so, hey, we've got to make adjustments. We definitely got to make adjustments. We can't eat as much as we used to, right? Because the food now is filled with preservatives. It's filled with additives. It's filled with a lot of sodium and flavorings, right? And they stay on the shelf a modicum of time. And truth be told, most of us don't even check the labels on the cans or on the bags when we eat it, right? We just go and do what we do. And then because we're people who have to work crazy hours, overtime, we're not getting proper rest, brothers. We're working at factories late in the evening, and I hear you. You're like, well, it's a different time. The measure of rest, the quality of rest, is not the same. And then a lot of brothers are faced with the anxiety of providing day to day in a different kind of culture that they're not being paid enough to even make a living. And so that's a heavy weight because that responsibility is oftentimes placed on the man, right? the mailman. And we could definitely say something about, how that affects the family, how that affects women, how that affects the children. But the reality is that we are living in a different society and in a different culture, but we've not made appropriate adjustments to accommodate, which means we cannot eat all the time as much as we used to eat. Cannot, right? Because number one, the food is different, right? The fast food is different now than it is. I know I'm just going to grab a bite to eat from Chick-fil-A. I'm going to grab a bite to eat from McDonald's, Burger King, or wherever you eat. The food is different now because in this capitalistic society, the beef ain't really beef. You know what I'm saying? That a lot of the things we think are the chicken nuggets are, what are they? When you look at certain documentaries and you do deep dive studies, you will find out that the quality of food is a lot of times contributing agents to our health disparities, especially as men, right? And so we can't eat what we used to eat, can't eat as much as what we used to eat. We're going to have to go back to, I know this might sound bad, but we're going to have to go back to cooking ourselves and seasoning our own food and even maybe growing our own food, to those who have that opportunity. That's how I grew up, I could eat my grandmama would fix a big plate because she did not believe in anybody leaving her house hungry. And she would bake all these cakes. And man, we were slim. Wasn't no health issues. Body was great. And then when you got in your 20s and the 30s and you started moving and you started, getting something on the run, that on the run will prevent you from running. That because of the schedulings of our lives, right? And that's just the physical health aspect. Heart disease is going up in our community, especially among Black men. Diabetes is going up, especially in the realm of Black men who work every day. They're in the gym every day. They are fit, but they are suffering from sugar imbalances, insulin imbalances. And that is a lot of times because of the stress and the food that we eat. And we have to understand that we've got to make that adjustment. So, even though we have more gym memberships, when you look at the numbers and the analysis, the gym is giving us the illusion that we're healthy, but there are some things that are also going on holistically in our bodies that are killing men. Cancers, prostate, colon cancer is on the rise. Pancreatic cancer is on the rise. And you got to stop and ask, wait a minute. Diseases that we didn't even hear about when we were growing up are being manifested right now. And at some given point, we've got to ask the question, what in the world is going on? Well, glad that you said that. I just want to tell you that, that we're living in a different kind of world and we've got to make adjustments. Now, and here's the next part of that, since we on that, right? How am I going to say this? I'm trying to say it nicely. Here it is. So, that we got it, since it costs more to be healthy, because now healthy food, health care, or health awareness, wellness is an industry now. It's an industry now. So now it costs more. It costs more than to be healthy, to eat healthy, right? Right. Now think about it. In the grocery stores, brothers, think about this. Ladies, think about this. Y'all listen. In the grocery stores, they got two kinds of fruit, two kinds of vegetables, two kinds of juice. It's two kinds, right? One is organic, and organic means that it grows naturally. Some semblance of its natural process. So if that's one place they have organic peaches, organic plums, organic grapes, organic tomatoes, organic cucumbers, then what's the other stuff that we're eating? Where did that grow, right? If I'm going to pay $4 for that tomato and the organic is $7, then where did the $4 come from now? And then when you think about that from a healthcare perspective, bros, listen, that means that you're paying lesser because I'm thinking now economically, right? There is somebody who's thinking capitalistically, and I've got to think economically. They're thinking bottom line. I'm thinking about what I put in my body. Yes, I want the healthier one, but that's a difference of $3, right? And since my paycheck ain't changing quick enough to match the food prices going up, then I'm going to choose what? The unhealthy choice. And I bring the unhealthy choice home, and somehow we convince ourselves that the unhealthy choice is like what we used to eat, and it is not. And so brothers are dying early onset, dementia, Alzheimer's. All of these diseases are increasing, and the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry is going upward because again, they have the cure, but they're not going to give it to you, because if I cure this, if I just say simply this is why we're living in a time of opposition in terms of industries, and we are caught in the middle. We are caught in the middle, right? And as a man, you got to keep going. You got to keep pressing. You got to keep, man, I can't go to sleep because I got to be back at the factory. And so when we talk about lack of rest, which is necessarily for key health choices and optimal physical performance and just optimal performance, period, I don't have enough time to rest because we swinging 16, 18-hour shifts because we got to make more, right? When we think about all of that, when we think about more, when we're working, it's more work they're putting on us because they're trying to put more work, and they're threatening us with, well, if you don't do it, we'll bring AI or we'll bring machines in, and now you won't even have a job. So now you got to work on. When you start adding in all of these factors, and then there is no spiritual connection, right? There is no spiritual connection. I'm trying to find peace in the bottom of a bottle. I'm trying to find peace at the end of a cigar. I'm trying to find peace while I'm toking a cigarette. I'm trying to find peace in all of these other, illicit affairs and work wives and all these different kinds of things. It's no wonder that when we talk about health disparities among black men in this country, it's no wonder that it exists at the level that it does. And so my challenge today, not just for you as I'm talking to you, but even challenging for me, is we've got to make sure that at the beginning and the end of the day, that we take care of ourselves, bro. Yeah, we got to do it. We got to take care of ourselves. We need it for us. But listen, my wife needs it. My children needs it. They don't want to see their husbands and their fathers die too soon. I told my wife, listen, you too fine, you too pretty. I dare not leave you too soon. I'm going to be here as long. But that means I have to make an adjustment. I've got to make an adjustment in what I eat, what I allow to stress me out. I got to learn how to take vacations. I've got to learn how to meditate. I've got to learn how to call and not to say to yes to every engagement. I've got to make sure that I am in a space to live my best life as long as my grandparents did, right? We're living in a generation where the children are not living as long as their grandparents. And we've got to address that, right? And then when you start talking about community violence, right, that the world on the outside is antagonistic to black men. When you think about that, yeah, we've got a lot of work to do in the area of health. And so men and sisters who love men, I want to challenge you to encourage us to pay attention to our health. Brother, it's time to get our health up. Yeah, I know it's time to get your paper up and your finances, but it all means nothing if you got poor health. If you're sick in the hospital, you can't enjoy the yacht or the car or all of the money because you can't take it with you, right? And so, listen, that's what we're going to be talking about today right here on The Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. I need you to keep it right here. I'm telling you, we got a wonderful show to go. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back right here on The Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Praise 93.3 FM, and we are having an amazing day. And we are broaching a very important conversation. Yeah, brother, get your health up. Yeah, talking about men, black men, and healthcare disparities. And I think it is very important for us definitely to have this conversation. Here is a big question. I want to ask a question. Brother, do you have a doctor? Do you have a doctor? Do you have someone? Do you get an annual every year? Do you Go every year on your birthday. My time is my birthday. I try to go around that time and get a checkup from the rooter to the tutor. I know that a lot of those instances can be very uncomfortable. Some of the exams that we have to have are uncomfortable. But I'm telling you, it is needed. It is very needed. You need to know what's going on in the face of what's in my body, because there are things that we don't see, and we can think and feel like everything is okay, but we need to definitely, just like our beautiful sisters have an annual, then we too definitely need to have an annual, right? Especially as we get older, and especially if we are, sexually active, we definitely need to get everything checked out. Yeah. Especially as we're talking about eating right foods and wrong foods and all these different kinds of things. You got to have that colon checked out. You got to have that colon checked out. You got to make sure that those numbers are right as well. Those cholesterol numbers and that A1C, all of that, bro. You got to consider your body. Planet Fitness, Gold's Gym, Crunch is not going to do it when there is something going on internally. Yes, you might look good when you look in the mirror with your muscles and you're slimmed down, and you say, "Oh, well, that's great, man. I'm super cool. I ain't got no problems. Everything is A-okay with me." But is it? Definitely not speaking anything, but I need us to come to the place of light. I need us to become to the place of really thinking about, hey, I need to develop a relationship with a doctor. I need to find a doctor. That's another cause for, more black doctors in our community, because I get it. I understand the uncomfortableness of going to the doctor, first of all. My father was terrified of going to doctors. He was at the age where we had to make him go to the doctor, or when he was time for a checkup, my mom would call one of my brothers, me or my brothers, and say, "Hey, could you tell your dad it's time to go?" Because he would fuss at her and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, "Dad, listen, we not doing this. We not doing this. Anything happening to you, we're going to have to take care of you." And no. So, and then, man, I take care of my own body. Sir, listen, no. You're 60, going on 70 now. Yeah, you're going to the doctor, period. Yeah. And so we're not going back and forth with that. And so I think it's very, very important that we have that conversation about making sure that we establish a relationship with a doctor, right? And I get it that you want it to be a black doctor, and a lot of times you want it to be a black male doctor. Listen, I get the ego, all that. I get the safety and the ego in all of that. But the reality is you want a good doctor. That's what you want. You want a good, consistent doctor that's always going to be honest, that's always going to tell you the truth about what's happening in your body, bro. You definitely need that. I don't need anybody that's just going to take my copay and tell me what I want to hear, tell me everything is okay. And then when we get to a stage in the page, there's something is going on. I'm gonna like, wait a minute, you didn't see that? Well, why didn't you tell me that? Why didn't you communicate that to me, right? And so we definitely, bro, we have to have a doctor. That yes, it's important to work, but you need to make sure, more than the money, you need to make sure that you have health insurance. That health insurance is a part of that. If you are an entrepreneur, you need to set aside a part of your earnings to be able to purchase health insurance so that you can get a doctor. That you can get a doctor, and a good doctor, because there's a lot of bad ones out here too. I get it. I understand that they feel differently about when black people walk into their doctor's office, right? That we're looking for an escape, or the assumption, and that can be black or white doctors, the assumption that we are not taking care of ourselves, that we're, living in poverty, and we're just trying to find, a way out just to find some medicine. No, that ain't what we're doing. And those are the kind of people you don't go to. You don't have to patronize them. You don't have to go to them. But bro, sir, unc, you need a doctor. Sis, you need to encourage him. Yes, and if you have children, might have to have an intervention for those who are strong men born in a certain age and a certain generation where men don't go to doctors. We just drink some ginger ale and take some Robitussin and rub some Bengay on it and keep on moving, keep on working. No, bro, no. If you got that kind of man, then you need to have an intervention. Because, bro, you need, let me say this again, you need to go to the doctor. You got to go. You got to go. No ifs, no ands, or no buts about it. And you need to check everything. Yes, everything. Everything. Because there are things that are going on in our bodies genetically, hear me now, that will lie dormant. And all it's waiting for is stressors to trigger its activation in our bodies. Because we don't just come here physically, biologically, in any kind of way, as a clean slate, right? None of us come in tabula rasa, a blank slate, right? We come in with genetic things from our parents, those chromosomes from both sides, right? With stresses and struggles and all of those kinds of things. And so I need to know, and you don't believe it? The first thing that they're going to ask you, bro, is when you go is your family history medical, not just yours. It's going to ask you about your parents. It's going to ask you about if you had this in your bloodline. It's going to ask you about all of these different kinds of things, right? Because they know that a lot of things that go on in our bodies, brothers, are systemic. And they need to track for certain things, right? They need to track for certain things. So my grandfather had colon cancer and my dad had prostate cancer. So I know when I go, they're going to do the workup. Oh, I get it. I understand it. I get it. My mom had diabetes, and you got to fill all that out because that tells them what they need to hone in on. Ain't no use to be afraid of that. It's no use to be afraid of that. And again, I get it. I get it. Because a lot of times black men have what we call white coat syndrome. We have white coat syndrome. What does that mean? That means you go to the doctor's office and anything that can go wrong with your body, your anxiety goes up, your stress goes up, your blood pressure goes up, because listen, we don't trust doctors. I don't know what you're getting ready to say about me, XYZ. I've been having headaches. I don't want you to come back and say I got brain cancer or a tumor. No. So we stressed out when we go to the doctor, let alone, the copay and what it's going to cost and all those different kinds of things. I get it. Listen, I understand. However, you and I need to know that we mean more to just to people than just ourselves, right? That we have family, that we have wives, we have children. We've got, you can't work if your body is not capable of doing that kind of work because you're not taking care of it. One of the things that my doctor told me back in the day says, listen, I'm coming to your church because I got to see what you do. And he came to my church and saw how I preached and saw how I ministered. He said, oh, ain't no way. He said, nope, I got to make sure we got to keep monitor of certain things in your body. Because if we do not listen, you'll be a walking, preaching, singing, ticking time bomb waiting to explode. So we got to make sure that you're eating right. And when I first came here, the sisters loved me so much, brothers. They would bring me Dreamland every day for lunch. They would cook, and I'm talking about that big 4 and 5 rib Dreamland plate with the potato salad and the baked beans, and then one day want to make me some fried chicken, and I'm just eating because the food was good. And listen, thanks, sisters, I appreciate you. And then I went to my daughter. He's like, nope, you got to tell them no more cakes, no more pies. My goodness, no more chicken, this, no more that. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a crash diet, bro. What you trying to do? The sisters appreciate their pastor, right? He's like, well, they're going to appreciate you to an early grave. And so he taught me, and even now the young men that I have helping me and is serving with me, they make sure, hey, no, Bishop's not going to eat that. He can't eat that. Pastor's not going to eat that. No, you done bought this man a whole cake. No. Or they'll take half cake and I give it to their family and I take the rest at home and, I eat a slice or two. And then I say, hey, whoever wants some cake, you can have it. Because listen, it's that habit, you see? And so a lot of times you've got to have a doctor to partner with you because your doctor a lot of times will hold you accountable to make you a better steward, bro, over your health. Yes. And say, hey, yeah, your wife, you can't be eating the chitlins all the time. And, I'm grateful that I'm not addicted to sweets, but I love chocolate. I love chocolate. I love chocolate, and I love sweet potato pie. Man, listen, my grandmama made a sweet potato pie, and we would ask her, as our brothers, make us each one. That means 3. Make us 3 separate pies because we could, in one sitting, eat a whole pie by ourselves. Man, please. I believe I gain weight now if I look at a slice, right? And I get it. I get it, man. Food makes us feel good. That's why our food is called soul food. It's got the right amount of this. But listen, you got to be careful how you eat soul food out of restaurants now. Because it's too much sodium, it's too much this, what they're cooking in, they don't change the grease. That, a lot of these things come out of packets that, they're not cooked fresh. The macaroni and cheese you get, no, it ain't cooked fresh. It's cooked out of a box that's been sitting in a freezer or that's been sitting on a shelf or made in a factory. It ain't grandmama getting up there with the ball and the noodles. No, that ain't the same thing. So, bro, you got to have a doctor to tell you what to monitor in your life, what to monitor, that's why normally, I take my wife with me to my checkups and so that she can hear, because I know when I walked through the door and she hadn't been there, okay, what did they say? Listen, not no, hey, honey, how you feeling? No, I need you to tell me what they say and don't lie. Because I'm going to hold you accountable to this, right? That you got to back off caffeine. So get off the soda so much. You get off the sweet tea so much. Put more water in your body. Yeah? Yeah, that part. Make sure you get enough rest. Make sure you be quiet on Mondays. Make sure you get your weekends are filled with weekends because I travel a lot and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, make sure you do all that. And so she's going to monitor, right? And then, because again, it's about stewarding over this body as well, y'all. It's not, brothers, listen, it's not just about going to work and making the pay and taking care of family and stressing out. And we're like, we're silent and not saying anything. No, and then when you add into that, not just the physical, but we don't do well in our mental health. That one of the things that culture and society has robbed away from the black man is his sense of emotional intelligence, right? That I taught this the other week, that we're taught not to cry, not to vent, that we are really walking around as emotional basket cases, and we don't have a proper pressure valve because nobody wants to see I heard this lady on. Again, I was at Facebook and she was talking about, she was talking. And she's like, nobody wants to see a man cry. Women don't want to see that. We want a man that's strong, as if him being able to, vent emotionally makes him weak. See, it's all these people. This is one of the things I have against social media is that we allow gurus to come out of Google, university, TikTok, seminaries, and they get a few followers, and you figure out because they got 700,000 followers or 1 million followers that they're really smart, and they're really not, right? Because they got a following and they say crazy stuff that perpetuates, ignorance in our community. But we follow them. We think that they know what they're talking about, And, she was just going on. We don't want to see this man. We don't want to do this. And we don't and she opens up a book that she wrote. And, this other guy was like, yo, but y'all taking advice from a woman that ain't even got a man. She has to write a book about how she can't get a man. And you're listening to her tell you how to treat a man and what we want out of a man. And you thinking you're platforming her. It's like, yo, what are you talking about? You're listening to somebody who doesn't even know anything. And so this whole idea of men ain't supposed to cry, men ain't supposed to this, men ain't supposed to that, and this all that, men ain't supposed to this. I just saw something online. They said, bro, if a man cook like his grandmama cook, then he's sassy. So now we can't cook. And if we cook, we can't cook good. When we don't understand that most of the premier chefs in the world are men. Period. Right? And so, but you got this lady and everybody's listening to her. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So men, I get it. They're under the stress of conforming to these societal and cultural norms that are really not norms for them. Right? Men can't really find a place of peace. Oh, I know they say you can, but no, because I talk to a lot of brothers and like, I don't really want to be in a relationship because, once you tell you, when you try to express yourself and say that conversation of you expressing yourself is going to quickly turn into what's wrong with her. She's going to hijack the conversation with what's going on with her. Now, ladies, I know that ain't true. I know you give space for him to say what he needs to say because I know that's not you. I know Well, right. So men's like, ain't no use to say nothing because it's going to be about her anyway. She's going to turn it around to be about her anyway. So ain't no use to say nothing. And these men, but that pressure has to go somewhere. And a lot of times it goes to their heart. It goes to their blood pressure. It goes to all of that because they're carrying it out. They're carrying all this energy, emotional and mental energy around with them. Right. And, until it comes out as anger. Or they have to go out and express that with the guys and get loud there and, at football games. Well, how come you so much got to be there? Because the brother needs an outlet. That's why, right? He needs an outlet that he doesn't always find with you, sis, right? Don't get no attitude. I'm just telling you the real. Listen. Yeah, and the text says that his heart has to safely trust in you. So the good question is, if you want this kind of man who's working on his mental health, are you good for his mental health? My. Are you good for his mental health, sis? Can he come in and really find help and peace and solace with dealing with you? Because I'm telling you, a lot of men I know are walking around as emotional ticking time bombs because they feel no safe place to have to express themselves on an emotional level. Yes, absolutely. You can say what you want to, but we got the science to back it up. Yeah, that's a question. Are we providing safe spaces for men to have peace? To express themselves? I think that's a very important question. Yeah. And we're going to answer it a little bit right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3 FM, your inspiration station, 205-752-4800. Give me a holler. Y'all stay tuned right after this.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back. It's the top of the hour right here on the Culture Call, 11 a.m. and some change. That's right, with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, and we are having a marvelous day. Want to send a shout out to all of you who are joining us on the second hour. Hey, I'm telling you, thank you for being a part of the CC family. We're having an amazing conversation about men's health. Yeah, brothers, get your health up. That's right. In this Men's Health Month, we want to make sure that we are doing all that we need to do. But yes, welcome. We are glad that you are part, whether you're on your lunch break or about to take your lunch break, or maybe you just got off from your job. Doesn't absolutely matter to me. I am just glad to have you in my life and definitely having you listening to the Culture Call. Absolutely. Listen, this weekend is Father's Day. That's right. And I hope that you already got your dad what you need. Those of you who still have fathers on this side of time, that you're still you're positioned to appreciate and honor him. Yes, we won't spend all the time talking about how men ain't good. And no, we're not going to do that. No, we're going to celebrate and honor and respect all of the fathers who are present, who are providers, who are protectors, who are preparers for their wife and children. That's right. And we want more than just some slippers. That's right. Y'all gonna treat us good this weekend. Sure, no, definitely. No, just playing. No, seriously. I'm really serious about fathers, making sure that they know exactly how important they are. And maybe you may not have a place of worship this weekend. Guess what? Definitely, I want to take the pastoral privilege of inviting you to the Impact Nation Fellowship Church right there on 1110 26th Avenue East in Alberta City, the heart of Tuscaloosa. That's right. I want you to be our guest. We're on our summer schedule, so that's 10 a.m. Worship starts at 10 a.m. I promise you, it will be a blessing to your life. We have a very, very important message that we want to share with fathers and men on that day, and you do not want to miss it. So definitely want to invite you there. And if you do have it, make sure that you're there, suited and booted, celebrate, cook, whatever you got to do, make dad feel special on this Father's Day and every day. Yeah, but definitely on this Father's Day, okay? Good deal. Listen, beloved, we have been having amazing conversation about men's health this morning, and I want to make sure that I hit the nail on the head with regards to the importance of men's health, right? We talked about physical in the first part, and now we're segueing into talking about men and mental health. That is so very important that we understand. You know, when we look at the statistics that black men are less likely to seek mental health services compared to other groups, despite facing higher rates of mental health conditions such as depression and anxiety. And it's because of the stigma surrounding mental health in our community, as well as the lack of access to culturally competent mental health services. All of these things contribute to this particular level of disparity. So again, that as black men, yes, not only do we need a physical doctor, but we also need those mental health care therapists that we can talk to, right? That we need to reculturate ourselves in our community, that is a safe space for black men to communicate exactly how they feel and what is going on in their world. That's so very important. And if we don't do that, we have created and better yet perpetuated a climate that says black men don't matter. Yes, that there is, a lot of talk now about health care, mental health care for women, and encouraging the sisters to see a therapist and to gain a covenant of friends that they can share their life with, and their life secrets and their pains and their joys and their pleasures and all those different kinds of things. You know, there's uncertainties, there's anxieties, but that's not necessarily, black men are not necessarily given that priority. We're not given that right to do that. And I want to say it again, that right to do that. It is so very, very, very unfair for us to, how should I say this nicely, to look at our brothers struggling mentally and then label them. They got to be labeled. We want a certain kind of man, and we accept anybody else as they are except the black man. And that is so hurtful. That is so destructive of the black male essence in our community. And I think it is very important that we begin to create conversations around that, right? That yes, he needs friends who he can talk to, who he can share. And that those friends ought to be comfortable spaces, and places, that when he's lost a family member, lost a job, when he's divorced, when, he's got a lot of pressure on him, where is the safe space? Or not where, but we should be creating a safe space, because the question should never be where it is. It should be, we be able to point to other brothers and say, hey, you can go there. And then that black men need therapists. They need counselors, right? That go beyond pastors, and, that they can talk about some really, really important mental issues and emotional issues that happen in their life, that happens in the lives of everyone, right? That when you rob an individual of their mental faculty, when you rob them of their mental priority, when you rob them of their emotional agency, what you tell that individual, that man in particular, is that you're only a machine. You are only a beast of burden, that you are, unbeknownst to you, maybe perpetuating the cycles of slavery. Yeah. That, It wasn't no crying. It wasn't no anxiety. You don't care what you feel like, that whip, get back and get to work and pick that cotton, load this and carry that and all that. And so in this country, black men are, yes, looked as a beast of burden. And then every day you can turn on the television and you see law enforcement treating black men as if, again, they are runaway slaves. They could be walking in the park and just riding, their bicycle. They could be jogging in their neighborhood, but then the law enforcement is designed and constructed in this country to view them as a threat, and so understand not just the physical danger, but also understand the mental anguish that goes along with that the first thing that a police officer does when they see a black man is regard him how slaveholders see him, or how to be afraid of him. How, when they do that, they shoot black men, and the only thing they can say, first of all, they'll lie and say he had a gun, he had a weapon, and that they feared for their lives. No, that there is something about the agency and the stature of black men that causes people to fear, right? And so that you've got to understand, living in that whole context, that's a lot. That I work, I pay my taxes, I go to church, I do the best by my wife and my family. I do all I need to do, and all I want to do is go in my neighborhood that I work hard to pay for, to have a house in, and then only to be stopped and regarded, or to somebody, peeping out their window and says a strange man walking in my neighborhood. What do you mean, right? But that is the context of which black men have to deal with in this country. That's the context, right? That we can't get too loud, we can't get too rowdy, we can't defend ourselves. We can't, we've got to take everything said, because, with something like that, well, they should have obeyed. Well, when y'all ain't said nothing about January 6th, folks. Y'all calling them patriots and martyrs and stuff. They tore up the whole Capitol, the whole seat of government. They wouldn't tear up, but you're trying to give them. But if that was black and brown people, y'all talking about Black Lives Matter and all these other kinds of things. See, so you can already see that there is a disparity when it comes to how we are viewed in this country, especially as black men, right? And there's got to be some level of answering, some level of solution orientation that begins to address that kind of situation, right? And if it's not, black men will be silent, but that silence will turn into violence, or they will abuse or become addicted in some other area, not because they love gin and juice, not because they love Stolish Naya, not because they love Grey Goose and beer and all these other things. No, that is a sign of a greater situation going on. They need to vent, right? They need to have a place where their emotional and their mental agency is valued, is heard, is taken care of, right? They need that space in that place, right? That it is very difficult to live under erroneous definitions and feel like every time you show up, that bad definition, that wrong definition about you is existing. And so that the people who you are around respond to you out of the definition, the wrong, erred definition that they may have of you. And so now you got to nuance it. You really can't say anything. You can't. That's the reality. That is the reality. And here's the deal. When we don't do that, and provide that safe space, when we don't provide a safe space for our young boys to be emotional, to be emotional and show, and care about their mental health, right? That they live in a world that if they show that, they're labeled, right? As soft, as punks, as gays, as sassies and or sissies, and I hate to use those expletives, but that's the reality of the labeling, right? If we say that in conjunction, then how does he find help? How does he express himself? Because you've taken his expression and you've labeled it as something that he is not, right? And so that's important. And so for eons and for generations, black men have been living up under these disparaging definitions about who they are from an emotional and a mental context. And you got to see that, that they could get help if we took them seriously. We've got to take black men seriously before they become suicidal. We got to take them seriously before they become abusive. We've got to take them seriously before they just check out and disconnect, right? I want this kind of black man. No, you don't, because you got to make space for whatever you desire. Talking here, sir, I will. You got to make space in your life for whatever you desire, right? And a lot of times, space has not been crafted for that kind of black man to show up in reality. And the question that I have today is, what are we going to do about it, black community? What are we going to? We got to make it safe to have mentally and emotionally healthy black men in our community, in our homes, in our families, and be in relationship with them, and not label them out of our ignorance, out of our own darkness. And we label them out of a realm of manipulation. We label them out of a source of kind of witchcraft. We Jezebel them into being quiet, into being the kind, quote unquote, of man we think that they should be. And yet we lie and say we want this kind of man when in fact we really don't. No, because for that man to exist, our community has to have a level of agency and intelligence to be able to make room for his truth, for his reality, for his pains. Yes, absolutely. And so, yeah, we got to remove the stigma. He crazy. Okay, all right, I get it. But he wasn't born that way. What went on in his life? Like Jesus said, how long has he been that way? Why are we not curious at the silence of black men? Why are we not curious to find out why our dads sat in a chair and didn't talk? Why are we not curious to find out why our husbands don't want to say anything or are minimal in their communication? Why are we not curious when our sons go out in the street and connect themselves to gangs, or they don't perform, or they perform in an angry or an abusive way? Why are we not curious as a community? Yeah. Why are we not curious? You know why? Because for us to be curious means that we would have to divorce and disconnect ourselves from our previous definitions. We are going to have to update and upgrade. Yes, we're going to have to do that in order for us to become curious, right? Because I'm only becoming curious not just to find out information, but also so that we can provide solutions. Yes, we've got to become that. We've got to become a curious community again around some of the ailments of our black men in our community, right? How come my dad sat there at his mom's funeral and didn't even cry, didn't even shed a tear, as if that's not his mama? And I know how much my dad loved his mama, but how come we never see him express any kind of that sorrow? How can you not expect him to not cry and weep at the at the wedding of his daughter, right? That he's taking care of his baby girl, but he's got to keep it strong and not shed tears, of joy at that. But he's giving away the daughter that he's protected to another man. But we want him to act stoically. We want to act like he's Samson and all that, right? Samson had, biblically, he had emotional and mental instability. And he finally thought that he could have that safety, emotional and mental safety, to tell his secret to Delilah. He finally thought that, right? Because no other woman had pursued him in that posture, right? So all he had was his sexuality, his sensuality, right? But Delilah was different. I want to know your secret. What makes you strong? He thought that. Right? But we don't talk about the essence of the context or of the man who is hungry to have his mind heard. The man that is hungry and desperate to have his emotions heard. And we've got to become curious and create a culture that will cultivate, right, that safe space for young boys to be able to express their anger. I saw on Instagram the other week this martial arts, this man, wise man, getting these young boys off of the street and teaching them emotional and mental intelligence utilizing martial arts. And when they would, and their parents would say, my son had a bad day at school, he showed this, and the guy would call them up and say, okay, hey, I need you to show me how you felt. I need you to hit this block like you felt angry. He said, well, why did you, and the boy hit the block. He said, but you're supposed to break the block. Or why are you even hitting this block? What's going on with you? And you can look at that little boy break and cry. And he said, and here it is. He's hearing this from an older man. Here's what he said. It's okay to cry. It's okay to weep, right? It's okay to have that, right? We just need you to tell us what you are feeling, right? So you won't go into the classroom, disrupt the class, disrespect the teacher, hinder the educational opportunity for anybody else. And you yourself can learn when you learn how to manage and have a safe space to express what? Your emotions. We need that. We need that. We need that. We need those teachers back in the school that provide that for our young black boys. Right? And we don't need to adultify young black boys too soon. Right? That on the news, watch this. The police officer was talking about a 4-year-old boy. Here's how he described it. A 4-year-old young man. What? Talking about a little black boy. A 4-year-old young man. Listen, did y'all hear how oxymoronic that is? 4-year-old young man. And he was contorting, trying not to give any childhood status to the 4-year-old. What we cannot do is adultify our sons too soon. Yes, we've got to allow them the safe space to be young children, young boys. When I was a child, I thought, I spoke, and I understood as a child. But there's a second wind that's coming. When I became a man, then I can be expected to put away childish things. But you're going to have to let me have my first win. And in the black community, we don't allow our young boys to have their first win. WHEN. Yes, because we want them to grow so fast. Single moms want the young boy to grow so fast because she's trying to make him a lot of times the man of the house for the man she's missing in the house, right? You're trying to he's 8, 9 years old. You're trying to get him to protect the house, and you're robbing him of prime mental, emotional development real estate that, yes, one day he will grow into becoming a man. There's a second win for him, but you got to let him master and have his first win. And what we're finding out with black males is a lot of them have not been able to have their first win. Yeah, their first WHEN. When I was a child, 1 Corinthians chapter number 13. When I was a child, I understood. I spake. I thought I understood. I spake as a child, right? I understood as a child. But when I became a man, what? I put away childish things. Yes, I put away childish things. Right? So it's biblical what I'm talking about. But we've got to begin to understand and become curious and begin to ask questions in our community. Have we given our boys, our sons, have we given them a proper first win? Because I know I don't want to hear no excuses. Okay, I get it. I hear you. I'm not talking about responsibility. I'm not talking about chores, because all of that, they learn that in a childhood place, but not because they're going to pay the mortgage. No, you clean up your room because that's your room, right? And that's a part of you learning the responsibility of having, but not clean up your room because I'm expecting you to chip in with my mortgage and you 9 years old. No. That he's not at that win yet. No, He's at that win where he still needs a protector. Still needs a provider. He still needs a preparer. He still needs someone to help him. He's not even developed his cognitive and motor skills to, and synchronizing those yet. He's not even there yet. And yet we want to take away his emotions. We don't want to help him. Wait. I know you're upset. But what you're not going to do is this. You're going to control that. Right? Because a man that does not know how to control his own soul, is worse than a broken down city. Right? So a man, that young boy, you have to teach him how to control his emotions, how to control his soul, how to control, cry, but let's talk about it. Why are you so mad? Why are you so angry? And not just you better straighten up before I straighten you up. I'm going to get this switch. I'm going to get this belt. So you answer his emotional outbursts with some level of abuse, and you call it discipline, instead of calming him down and say, hey, okay, let's breathe. Let's breathe. Wait. You just slammed my door. Okay, let's talk about what's going on right now. Tell me what? Why are you upset? Did I do something to you? No? Then why are you slamming my door? Did I hurt your feelings? No. Then why is this your response? Why is this your reaction? Right? That black folks, we can't be so quick to get a switch and a whatever we get. Spare the rod, just spoil the child. But there is more than one rod. Y'all are looking at this through a Western perspective. Your words and your counsel is a rod. Thy rod and thy staff. Come on, Psalm 23. They do what? Comfort me. There's an element of the Holy Spirit that is connected to the rod. That's why you don't spare the rod, because the rod is supposed to bring comfort. Spare the rod, just spoil the child, right? You can use the rod and still spoil the child. Absolutely. You got to become macro in your thinking. You got to begin to see something different, that I'm developing a young man to be to have his second win. I'm helping him prepare tools to do that. And if we don't do that properly, community culture call, if we don't do that properly, oh my God, we're going to grow up a bunch of unstable men. And we've had enough of that. Unstable men who only want power and control. And we've got enough of that we've suffered from. So we definitely going to have to give men, from boys all the way to adult men, safe spaces to have emotional and mental conversations. Listen, this is a powerful topic that we're having right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. I need you to keep it right here, and don't you dare touch that dial.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, having a wonderful, wonderful day. That's right, a beautiful day. Are y'all enjoying our conversation? I know that you are. I'm telling you, Culture Call, this is the programming we love to bring to you, because I'm really, really, really passionate about my community, about my men, the women, our children. We really got to think about how that looks in the world today. That I get all of what we're trying to do, but as a people, as a community, we need to have some conversations, and it's okay. It's really okay to have those conversations. And today we've been talking about, listen, hey, brother, get your health up, right? While you're leveling up your money and you're leveling up your boo thing and all these other kinds of things, right? Your house, all that. Make sure that you're also bringing your health up, your physical, your mental, emotional, and your spiritual health. Very important. Listen, what we've talked about the physical health, and we've talked about the mental and emotional health, but now I want to hunker down on what I believe is the one of the most important, which is your spiritual health. And I was thinking about, what is this disconnection between men in their spiritual health? I grew up around men that were spiritual. Grandfather, great-grandfather, father, all those people. I grew up with them, preachers and all that. I grew up in church, and I get it. And there were roles and certain things that it seems like my observation growing up is that it was very difficult for the men in our community to connect with church when that connection wasn't giving them a place of leadership. And I began to read and begin to understand the cultural context of that. And not that I'm, again, not casting aspersions, but I'm sure that God's connection to male man is more than just being a preacher and a deacon, a minister, or reverend, or whatever, bishop. I know it is more than just titular. But there is something that seemingly in that element of men that was missing, and that was about their spiritual health. And I grew up in a place where I learned God, learned my relationship, learned how to cultivate a relationship with God, with key men, but primarily women. Back in that time, but goodness, that sounded like that. Ooh, I felt old when I said that. But back when I grew up, that there were more women in church than men, and again, men predominantly held leadership positions. But as just a thought of being a part of something, a part of the church, that was something that men really didn't do. And that was in the 70s. And that was always concerning to me because I felt like that how can men lead the home and be this in their community, lead the church, XYZ, but there is not a sound, stable, steady spiritual health concerning them, concerning who they were and with God. And that's very important. That was very important then and is very important to me now. And I hear men a lot of times like, well, we'll come back. We'll come back to church, or we'll come to church when the church doesn't look so feminine. Well, sir, this is the problem we're trying to address, that the church looks feminine or woman-like because there are more women there. That mainly the malehood or the malehood of the church is in leadership. It's this pastor, deacons or elders or other ministers or whatever. But when it comes down to the functionality of prayer and praise and worship and pushing the preacher or whatever, saying amen to the word, those things were ceded over to women. And I began to really do a study in that. And that's not how God has designed it. That when we read the scripture about praise, when we praise you, the Lord, when you read the understanding of the Psalms and the Proverbs and places of praise and spirituality was a part of the mechanism, even of warfare of nations, right? When you read the Old Testament, you really could see that. And men were really the predominant out front characters of that praise, right? The epitome of praise, the son of Jacob, that's named praise, son of Israel, Judah means praise, right? That whole idea there, to praise, to praise and to become a praise, that men would stand in the presence of God. Men would pray, right? And men would be responsible. Men would dance. David danced. As a matter of fact, David got in trouble with his wife for dancing, right? And David had to tell her, Michal, Saul's daughter, he said, listen, before your father even was king, I knew God. God chose me, XYZ, before your father. So if you think I'm praising him now, I will be more undignified than this. When David danced all the way down to his effort, his worshiping clothes, right? He came out of his kingly garments. And so there is that strong element of how God views men, male men, and this whole issue of spirituality. That men, those contexts, right, of the Old and the New Testament were contextual men. And we can fuss about patriarchy and all these different kinds of things. But what I'm saying in terms of reality, that men of those times had a spirituality, had a connection, with God, that they led their families. You do know the one that says, choose ye this day whom you will serve, was a man that said that. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Yeah, that was a man. That wasn't Big Mama, or that wasn't Annie, or that wasn't the wife. That was the man that says, my wife and my children, we have made a decision, right? I have made a decision for my house, and we're going to serve God. They had a powerful spiritual context there, right? And one case, folks will fuss about patriarchy and misogyny in the church and chauvinism, because that does exist. Doesn't mean that it does not. But when we're talking about that, is a separate conversation from spirituality, right? That there has to be men who have a connection with prayer and meditation and really getting to the source of who they are. Understanding Psalm 1, blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of God, of the ungodly, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of the scornful, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and that law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the river of water, right? And so, you can begin to have a political and a cultural, societal conversation about that. But at the beginning, it was God setting up an order of spirituality and connection with male man, making him responsible for the spiritual context of his family, right? And so there's got to be spaces and arenas that encourage men to express and to explore that element of themselves, and not to cede that over to women. Praise is ceded over to women, but the women can't preach. The man is the preacher, the woman is the praiser. No, the man should be the preacher and the praiser. Yeah, he should be the teacher and the worshiper, right? That women ought not to be the only ones on the intercessory band or the prayer team, right? There ought to be men there as well, men leading in prayer, men leading in intercession. Yes, men grabbing his family's hand, his wife and his children, and saying grace over the food. Thank you, Lord, for helping us to provide a roof over our heads and giving us all that. They need to see that men, males, daddy, uncle, they need to see a spiritual connection, right? And that doesn't just happen when you send the women to church, or you just let the women pray and you got the keys to unlock the church and lock the church. But do you have keys to the heart of God? Do you have keys of praise, keys of worship, of keys of encouraging both your sons and daughters to get a relationship with Christ? Remember, train up a child in the way that she go, and then when he gets older, he won't depart from it, right? That's not that. Listen, that was a man. That's mama and daddy. You don't just kick in. No, that's all of us. We have to show our sons how to praise, show our sons how to worship, show our sons how to cover and to keep their homes with integrity and character. Teach them good citizenship from the inside out. Respect and honor and dignity that flow from out of a healthy spiritual relationship. We are responsible for that, men. Yes, we are. We are responsible for that. And to not do that leaves our families unprotected. See, when Satan comes to talk about it, God offers up Job, not Job's wife. Because you want to be the head, yeah, okay, but be the head in everything, sir. It's important, bro, that you get your spiritual health up, that you find a good church with a pastor and people who you can trust, and grow your family and love and brotherhood and sisterhood and all that helps you, that's going to encourage you to be in your place, that's going to hold you accountable to your relationship with God, that's not going to look at you sideways when you lift your hands, or whatever your expression is. If you do your dance, they're not going to look at you strange and crazy. No, because you're responsible. Sir, you got to hear God. You got to hear from the Father. And if you don't hear God, the thing that upsets me about that Adam and Eve narrative in Genesis is that Eve is speaking on behalf of the family. But when it comes to it, God goes to who to get answers? To Adam. Adam, where are you? Because this thing is out of order. Because, it wasn't about an issue of her talking. The issue was, wait a minute. If the Bible says that Adam was present there, why did you go and address that serpent, sir? I gave you the spiritual understanding to protect your house. And so many of our black homes are relying on the women, the wives and the grandmamas to do all the praying, doing all the reading of the word, doing all the praising, doing all the worshiping. Yeah, that our women are standing in the gap. But if we can have good spiritual health, a good relationship with God, then that's the only way that we can properly cover our houses, bro. Yeah, that we have a prayer life, that we have a praise life, that we thank the Lord. All that men would praise the Lord for his goodness, for his wondrous works to the children of men, right? That he was son of God and son of what? Man. So that means that, yes, male man has the priority and the prerogative to develop a spiritual relationship so that you can understand who you come from originally as the spirit of man. The spirit of man is the candle of the Lord, right? So you cannot walk as just breath and breeches, but you've got to walk as the light to your family. You got to walk as that one that say, hey, let's pray. Hey, babe, don't worry about it. I'm seeking the Lord for that answer. And she'll calm down. Not just all the answers are just coming out of the realm of your mind, but she knows that she is a man she can trust that's going to lay before the Lord, lay before God and say, Lord, how should I lead my family in these trying times? How should I lead my sons and daughters? What advice shall I give them for the moment in which we live? How should I protect them? How should I cover them? Yes. How should I do this? What job should I take? All of these things happen out of a spiritual relationship. And I want us to consider how we look at it. That church has only been made to be a side hustle in the minds of men who have disconnected. And I'm asking and I'm begging and I'm pleading, brothers, we need to get connected back to the spiritual aspect of who we are again. Absolutely. Like the men of old, they would wake up early in the morning, read a scripture, and then they would go to work. We need that. Our families need that. Our sons need to see that. Yeah. That spiritual health really, really, really matters. Listen, I see the runway. I got to land this plane on another great show. Listen, this is the Culture Call with yours truly, Bishop L. Spencer Smith. Praise 93.3 FM 790 WTSK. I need y'all to keep it right here. Got a little bit more to go.
This is a world premiere.
Well, family, we made it to the end of the runway. That's right. The end of this amazing show. Brothers, get your health up, caring about the health care of our black men in our community. Listen, encourage your man around you to, go get a checkup in all three areas. In his body, his soul, emotions, and his spirit. Definitely. He needs all of that so that he can stay healthy, holistically, for all that he has to do. And we need you, bro. So make sure that you take care of yourself. Listen, as my grandmama and my mama would say at the end of every phone call, I love you a bushel and I love you a peck. And I love you a hug around the neck. Listen, this has been the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3 FM, your inspiration station. I need you to keep it right here and be back tomorrow morning for more of the Culture Call. I love you guys. You all be blessed, and be blessed.